Okay, here is a little video about this Hasbro Blaster that I modified to put electronics in. I've actually done 3 of these now, and this was the very first one I did. This is like my prototype, so I didn't quite get everything right the first time, and I have about $130 in parts in this alone. And I'm going to see if anyone has any interest in buying this. And just because I put 130 in does not mean that I'm expecting to get 130 back out of it. It's just I have 3 blasters now, and I don't really use this one at all, so I am going to get rid of it. There is basically, this being the prototype, there's basically a couple things that I did not care for. There's like 3 things I really didn't like that I did with this. The first one is that the battery, I actually have, here's the cover. This is a, before I start I guess, this is a Hasbro Blaster. This is actually the 1970s or 80s version. One of the first one that came out, because you can actually, this whole piece here would slide off and you'd put C batteries in to power the original thing. So that's just the body of it. And then I have the Doopy-Doo's resin kit on it. All except for there was a part that covers this, and I did not put that part on. But anyways, the first part is the batteries. The batteries I'm using these camcorder batteries. They are Canon LPE5s. You can still find these all over the place. And the way the battery goes in is I have the battery and then I have like a little leather strap attached, because the battery is going to slide all the way through the magazine well and connect to the battery holder, which is actually way down there. So the first thing I didn't like about this blaster is that you kind of have to fidget with the battery to get it in place. So kind of drop it in and then wiggle it around a little bit. I usually have to kind of look and see why it may not be going in the easiest. Sometimes you get it right away, sometimes you can take forever. Come on. So then that slides in after a little fidgeting, and then this leather strap kind of holds the cover in kind of securely. So that was the first problem. Getting the battery in, you have to fidget with a little bit. The second problem is that I put the selector switch right here, and the trigger ends up being a little, let's see if I can get it here. It still presses, but there's a little bit more resistance than what I like. And the reason being is that because this selector switch is right here, the wires actually come down and then I fold them over and then they connect to some other wires back here. But the heat shrink that I have on the wires is actually right on the trigger. It's not like it's really pressing on it, but it's enough that you can feel sometimes a little resistance on the trigger, so you might get a it just might feel like there's a little stickiness on the trigger. Sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. So I'm just using up all the shots here just so I can get to the end. And when I pull the trigger, I kind of tend to kind of use my finger to pull it towards me and then pull it back, and that kind of seems to get rid of some of the stickiness. So Just kind of like pull it this way and this way at the same time, almost like a diagonal, kind of pulling the trigger in a diagonal going this way, and that seems to get rid of the stickiness. Alright, so I'm out of shots. And the way that you reload is by pressing the selector switch. You have to wait for 3 seconds after all the shots are out before you can reload. So once that 3 seconds has passed, then you can press the selector switch and the shots will reload. Now to switch shots, this is the third thing, and this is actually a software bug that I didn't catch until after I had assembled the blaster. But when you're fully loaded, or actually at any point that you press the selector switch for the first time after reloading, so I'm going to press the selector switch, and as soon as it's done changing sounds, one of the shots goes away without shooting. And that's actually a bug that I have in the software. And what happens is that the counter that I use to count what shot you're on, and the counter that I use to display how many lights are flashing for the shot that you're selecting, I use different counters and they got a little messed up. So I pressed the selector, one of the shots went away, but now the next time I shoot, the shot didn't go away, so now they're back in sync. So that's just a small bug. So now every time I shoot, one of the lights will go away. And that doesn't happen if I press it again. Oh, actually it does. I'm sorry. It happens every time you change sounds. So every time you change sounds, one shot goes away, but then the next time that you pull the trigger, that shot doesn't go away. So it takes 2 shots to essentially get everything back in sync. Alright, so those were the 3 bugs, or the 3 things I didn't like. 1 was putting the battery in, 2 was stickiness of the trigger, and the 3rd was the unsyncing of the shot counter. Alright, so just other general things with the blaster. In order to, by default, I have things set up to only go between blast, which is 1 dot on the selector when you select it, and then shot 2 dots are flashing, is stun. So stun is the blue tip with the stun sound, and then blast is red tip with the blast sound. Let's see. So in order to go to the expanded shot mode, where you can select more than just 2 shots, if you press both buttons at the same time, then I go into like a configuration mode, and right now 2 dots are flashing. So if I press the selector, 8 shots are flashing. Now that means that you're in the 8 shot mode for selecting. So you can, I'm going to press the trigger to advance past this part of the configuration mode. And now this, where it's like every other light is flashing. So I got 5 flashing, and then the opposite 5 are flashing, and then 5 flash, opposite 5. This is standby mode. So if I wanted to go into standby mode, it's kind of like turning the blaster off. If I press the selector switch now, the power is still on, but it essentially deactivates the trigger as well as the shot counter. And it's kind of a way of, if you just wanted to temporarily put the blaster in standby so that you didn't accidentally shoot it, or you weren't sucking battery power out by having that shot counter on, which is, it does kind of suck a lot of battery out. So it's kind of like a way of turning it off without turning it off. And in order to turn it back on or activate it again, you have to press both buttons and hold them. Alright, now we're back active. Alright, so that was the standby mode. I'm going to go back into configuration by pressing both buttons at the same time. Alright, So press the trigger to advance past the count here. I'm going to press the trigger again to advance past standby mode. And then when all shots are flashing, that's my sound adjustment. So if you press the trigger, that is to go up in sound, and pressing the selector is to go down in sound. It goes down slowly. So right now it's getting really quiet. So I'm going to press the trigger to go back the other way. By default I have it turned up all the way, so you probably rarely need to do this. Okay, that seems to be up all the way, so now I'm going to press both buttons to exit out of the configuration. Alright, so let's see, we've heard the blast sound, we've heard the stun sound. I'm going to go to sound 3, which is another blast sound. Shot 4 is kind of like a machine gun sound. And with the longer sounds, the tip will flash longer as well. Five dots are flashing, that's the fist sound. Another fun sound. 6 dots is the Jawa Ion Blaster. Reload. 7 dots flashing. The 7th sound is the Boba shot when he's shooting at Luke in Cloud City. And then the 8th sound is the final sound, and that is the Geonosian sound. And then when you get to 8, the next time you select, it goes back to 1. Select again is sound 2, the stun. And as you get down in shots, like starting with the 3rd shot, it starts blinking faster, and then the last shot really blinks fast for letting you know that you're on the last one. And then once you're out, everything stops until you press the selector switch to reload. So this blaster is going to come with a battery charger, which I did have to modify because of the straps on the batteries. I had to cut the back off just to be able to fit the batteries in. And the way that this works is you just slide them in. There's a little connection here, and then this plugs into your wall. And then there's like a light that would flash to let you know that you're charging. And I have a elastic strap around here just to hold the battery on because I did cut that back off. So that's just a little strap to help with that. So there is 2 batteries. The battery charger and the blaster. And like I said, I have over $130 into this. And I'll take offers on it for a period of time if anyone is interested. And then, yeah, at that point, I will ship it out to whoever gets it. It almost seems like one of these batteries goes in better than the other, so I might have to look into why that is. Because this one goes in right away, and the other one I really have to fidget with. Alright, so thanks.